Hello everyone and welcome back to another ride, and this is part 2 of the ride into the Lake District. Yes, we've passed out of Keswick and we're now heading off towards the small village of Grange. Grange in Borrowdale, to give it its full title. Over to the right there you can see the fells. There's cat bells up there and many others. And here we are at the height of summer. Well, it's not really, is it? It's the end of summer officially, but it feels like the height of summer because we've had such a dreadful summer really here in the UK. But never mind, lovely ride, lovely dry roads, and most of you realise that I'm not actually talking to you as I ride along. I don't do that. It's not my way. My way is to leave the video for a month, which I can now do, of course, because this is a monthly release date, and it gives me the opportunity to reflect upon the rides and many other things in life, and I prefer to do that, and I know many of you like the way that I do that too. So we've left Keswick behind and we're now riding on to B Road, which is running along the shore of Derwentwater, and we're heading off to that little Grange village, passing these lovely hotels upon the way. I've never actually stayed in one. I did actually call in for hotels, I think. I did actually call in at one when I was on a walk with a friend, and we had a rather nice tea in the afternoon there. In fact, it was there was a wedding reception going on at the time. Just as well I'm not doing this as I'm riding, isn't it? I think it was this one that's coming up actually. Yes, so I know this area very well. I've stayed in a caravan club site just out of Grange called Manistee. It's also, I think it's now called Borrowdale is the name for the campsite, but I know as Low Manistee. It's in Low Manistee Woods anyway. It's a lovely spot to camp in, camping there, sort of caravanning and motorhoming, or campervanning actually. It wasn't a motorhome in that place since 2004, I suppose it must be. So we'll be coming up to the little bridge at Grange, and here we are. We're going to cross over this double bridge, a lovely bridge, and I'll stop and show you a picture of the bridge. It's very difficult to get down to actually to get the best view of it, but anyway, we do our best. Just as well you don't meet anything here on with a caravan, or the small Honest Rambler bus actually comes over this as well. Here we are, that's our bridge. That's part of it anyway. That's the River Derwentwater, River Derwent, I should say, leading into Derwentwater, and this is Grange Village. Nice cafe, closed at the moment. It's rather early. Cafe there on the left. Some lovely houses, sort of slate and stone, of course, which is why it fits the landscape so well. And there's fells up above us there. So yes, I've travelled this, I've hauled a 4-berth caravan this way, a tiny little caravan actually, originally I had, and a 4-berth caravan, and then I just with the camper van, and then a slightly larger camper van as well, which was lovely, but just a wee bit too big, and so that's gone as well now. But this is the first time, as I said, I've ever come this way on a motorcycle. Plenty of cycling around this way, of course. Mariner myself, loved it. It's still very quiet, of course. Now, just up here on the left, Derwentwater is over on our right-hand side, and we'll get some good views of that in a moment. But just up here on our left, as I say, is the way up to Cat Bells, but more than Cat Bells. I mean, it's part of the fells, which is lovely to walk, and you can walk up there, and you can then, if you're not that fit, you can walk on the Borrowdale Ramble, which is lovely as well. You don't need to go all the way to Catbells to get good views, as you will see in a moment. We'll go up there, and you'll see some lovely views of Derwentwater itself and the fells beyond. We'll actually put a little pointy finger to show you that way. So yes, forget all about Hall's End and the far end of Portinscale end of Derwentwater. I know it's convenient to come over on the launch from Keswick and walk up that way up to Catbells, but this is by far the most interesting, I think. You get better views, and it's a nicer way up as well, but that is just, of course, my opinion. Others may differ. So are we going to have some stories on this ride, as it's quite a long one, as you can see. It's a 45-minute. Here we are. That's the way up, and here's the view from the way up. What a fantastic view. So we're carrying on our way, and then we'll stop a little bit further on, and we'll get down to the lake, and I'll show you the Keswick launch plying its way across Derwentwater. And that's actually a lovely thing to do. It's just on the right there is the caravan club site, called Borrowdale now. It's called Derwentwater. Up above us to the left is the Borrowdale Ramble, and you can access it from if you're keen, you can get through that gate there. I have tried that a few times, but oh dear, it's not the best way. But no, there's a better way, which was back on the other bit where we had the nice view. That's Manistee Woods down to the right there. We can walk down to the lake there. Yeah, that caravan club site is actually what they call a basic site. There are no loos, so you have to have your own facilities, so to speak, which is what I like. I don't like all the paraphernalia of toilet blocks and stuff. Horrible. Which limited me, of course, in my caravanning days, camping and caravanning days. So there's all Manistee Woods over there. Red squirrels, of course. Deer. Oh, that sun's bright. Yes, the Hollister Rambler bus, that's run by Stagecoach, and that runs out of Keswick, goes all the way up over the Hollister Pass. Past here, it comes 10 past 10, it picks you up at the Caravan Club site there, and it goes all the way around and takes you back to Keswick. And you're going to catch our first views of Derwentwater over to the right. Spot to pull in. Good lad. Yeah, that's the Keswick launch from the shore. Easy to get down to the shore, and this is the route we'll be taking. That goes off towards Keswick and Portinscale, the village of Portinscale, and that's the way we've come. Has to be said, that is a lovely road, so let's get along it then and see what it has to offer us. I would like to dedicate this little ride, it's quite a long one, to my fellow motovlogging chums that I call my friends, and we're talking about Mercy and Moto here, Bleary View, the Adventures of Bleary View. Hello Alex, hello Dave, I should say, and then Alex. And also Rog, that's old n-Goldie, who is still recovering from his injury to his leg. Hello Rog. There's 5D Traveller, that's Mick, who has some wonderful videos. I absolutely love them. So do take a look at those if you want something very tranquil. There's some wonderful rides. And I mustn't forget Fellini Motorcycle, that's Tim over in Pennsylvania, Virginia. His rides are rather different from mine, I must say. Roads are very different, but he always watches mine and I always watch his, and yes, so for something completely different, do take a look. Ainsworth rider, of course, and that's James, and there's Nick, that's Silver Fox Travels, my favourites, and Martin Trafford, Moorland Biker. Gosh, there are so many. I was thinking about it. I'm reading them all off here, getting a bit busy along here. Yes, time's getting on, of course. It must be getting on for 10 o'clock now, so they're all turned up from their bed and breakfasts. Saddlebag 73, mustn't forget Jeff and Twinks. No, absolutely. Love his videos. Lovely style, lovely relaxed style, and I mean all the people I watch have a very relaxed style, and I think that says a lot about me, really, doesn't it? I'm not one of your chaps that tears around. I used to perhaps be, but no longer, of course. I prefer to take my ease and explore, as the name implies. Martin Trafford, Moorland Biker, he's off to Spain to meet up with another of my chums, and that's Gary, Economical Rides with Ruby. So it's another one that I love watching. I'm sure there are others, but I can't remember them at the moment. I'll pop them up on the description if I can call them to mind a bit later on. But for the moment, we're riding along here, and did I say we're going to have some stories? I haven't actually said anything. Stories in the past one now. Yeah, so anyway, so yes, this is quite a long ride, so I think we ought to have a couple of stories, otherwise I'll be saying, whoa, come on, I'm watching this for 45 minutes, not a single story. So I was thinking actually about mistakes we make, not just in life generally, but perhaps in motorcycling. The things we think we might want to try, and we really end up a bit of a disaster. This came to mind because I used to have, when I first came back to motorcycling, this was 3 and a bit years ago now, after a 40-year break, I had no idea. I mean, things had obviously moved on a bit. I appreciated that. I didn't have any idea about what clothing to wear. I knew in the past, and it's got some tight hairpins coming up here, so I'll ease back a bit, and we'll carry our story a bit later on when we've negotiated these. Yeah, believe it or not, the little bus comes up this way. I say little bus, it's not that small. We will see it on this journey, actually. Now this is the Hall's End bit, which is where the Keswick launch comes in, and these people are walking up to Cat Bells from that launch, and they'll be clambering over some rocks, and slippery rocks actually, to get to Cat Bells, which is a quicker route than the other one, but nowhere near as nice. Plenty of cars parked up here, of course. Those that don't want to bring the launch, go on the launch. So yes, mistakes made. When I had the Meteor, it didn't come with a screen. The model I had was the middle of the three, and it was called the Stella. The Supernova was the top of the range, so to speak, and that came with a windscreen. And after a bit, I thought, I wonder if that windscreen would actually help with the strong wind that always seemed to be blowing. Now, I hadn't ridden, as you know, as I've just said, for 40 years, and I've forgotten about wind pressure. I thought, surely it was never this bad, was it? How did I put up with this? I know I was younger and perhaps a wee bit slimmer, but not a lot. There's the bus, It's going to go all the way round through past Buttermere and right the way round to back to Keswick. Very long journey, but it's well worth going on. Fantastic views if you don't want to ride a bicycle or a motorcycle, or certainly wouldn't drive a car. It's too narrow, I think, especially if you meet that bus coming the other way. So where was I? Oh yeah, the super meter. So yeah, that had a windscreen. So I ordered the windscreen, thinking that this would make all the difference in the world. Well, it didn't, of course. What it did, it seemed to shove air up straight to my head, which whilst it was off my body, it was now blowing around my head more, or so it seemed anyway. Anyway, eventually I decided anyway the meter wasn't for me, so the best thing to do was get yourself a Hunter, which I do not regret. That is not a mistake. I hope not, anyway, I got two of them. So no, definitely not a mistake buying the Hunter. But I kept the windscreen, which probably was a mistake, because I kept it when I sold exchanged the meter for one of the Hunters, thinking to myself, well, I might better use that on the Hunter. Perhaps it would work all right. Well, I've had 3 goes at trying it now, and it's absolutely hopeless. Now I record my videos. The sound on the videos are recorded with a chest mount and a vision, of course, and the noise that the wind turbulence behind that windscreen makes, you cannot hear anything of the engine at all. It's useless. So after the 3rd go, I thought, well, come on. And also, it's heavy. That windscreen and its associated ironwork is actually quite heavy, and that actually spoils the handling, the light handling, that agile handling, which the Hunter is really renowned for. It completely spoils it. So anyway, yes, so that windscreen is now boxed up and ready to go on to someone that perhaps would like to have it. It's certainly not for me. So what other mistakes have one made? Well, the other perhaps mistake I made, although actually it's turned out to be quite good, I always used to ride with Belstaff waxed cotton, once I could afford to buy it, of course. It was all too expensive in the early days. All I had was a flying jacket, which let the rain in eventually through all the layers of sheep's clothing, sheep fleece. But after that I bought myself Belstaff waxed cotton top and the trousers, and perfectly waterproof actually, as long as you keep the wax intact. Although I did find on a long ride that the water used to pump through the seat of the pants and ended up with a soggy bottom. But that's probably simply I didn't wax it often enough. So I thought, well, if I'd had that in the past, it was perfectly okay. Along with a pair of Godfrey's gold top boots I had, and a white sea socks. And that was the preferred option back then. I'm talking 1970s now. So I thought, well, surely that's what I need again. It was perfectly all right then, wasn't it? Why not now? Well, I did actually get in touch with a Royal Enfield owner I knew about locally. I did email him. I had got hold of his email address and emailed him and asked him what he used. Well, he said, "Oh, don't bother with anything other than textiles." Textiles. Oh, blimey! I've just gone and bought myself a West cotton jacket now. Not a Belstaff. I couldn't afford that. The prices of Belstaff now ridiculous. Now up, you can see up there that you've got Skiddaw, and you've also got a lower fell, and that's called Latrick. And Latrick is accessed from just a bit further up near in Keswick itself, and it's a very accessible fell gives you wonderful views the whole length of Derwentwater, and I really love it absolutely being up there. It's not difficult to get to. There's even a car park, and disabled folk can get to it too, if they got sort of an all-terrain type machine that they can use. But obviously, if they're not so severely disabled, then you can walk to it. Just off to the right here is Shearing's Hotel, which I have stayed at, and Martin, you will know all about that Shearing's Hotel, of course. You've stayed there many a time, I know. And it's a very good base for the Lake District. So where was I? I've lost track now. Oh, Latrick, that's right. Yes, wonderful views down the lake from Latrick. It's about half the height of Cat Bells, probably. But the views, I think, are superior. And yes, Mary and I used to love walking up there and being up there. So yes, there I was with my barber wax cotton jacket, and thinking, why isn't this so acceptable now? Well, when I looked at what's available, I realised it all had this plastic stuff in the elbows and shoulders and hips and stuff. I thought, my knees, that's right. And I thought, oh well, I suppose that has moved on a bit. But why didn't we have it in the past? Now here we are in. Oh, that's the way up to Latrick, actually, up there. If you go up there, you can walk up there, or park up there, and you can go on to Latrick. Now we're going to go over the little bridge, the River Greta, it's called, into Keswick here, and I'll take a little photograph of the bridge as well from down below, give you an idea what that looks like. There's a bridge just there. So we'll pop over here. There's our bridge. Here's Keswick, and rather busier than it was when we came in, isn't it? Yeah, the market's in full flow now. Saturday market. So we'll carry on with our natter then. As we head on back now. And it's funny, isn't it? I mean, it all looks completely different now. Going in the opposite direction, it's always different. No car, I better pull it in front of me now. That's good. Yeah, so there we are. I've got my wax cotton jacket, but yeah, I thought to myself, well, perhaps I should buy this more heavily protected stuff. And so I actually looked on. I came across this thing, this Bennett's bike social thing. Bennett's is an insurance company, but they also have this bike social side, and they do reviews of things. And because they're not affiliated like so many to any particular manufacturer, they just do a pretty open-handed review, I think. Having read a lot of them now, I'm still impressed by their reviews. And they review. I thought, well, I don't want to spend a fortune on this. You know, I might not even like this motorcycling lark. After all, 40 years away from it, what's it going to be like? So I gave it up in the first place back in the 80s for some good reason, best known to myself. So yeah, I don't want to spend an absolute fortune on it. So I thought, well, I'd go for what I went for. And I have been very pleased with it, I must say. It is comfortable. It does keep out the sort of wet that I've ridden through anyway so far. I haven't given it a full day's riding in the rain. Probably a couple of hours riding, and it was perfectly okay in that. And more importantly, it is a lot brighter than my black barber jacket, which I was always going to wear a bright yellowy green jacket over the top of it anyway. But with the suit that I have now, I've actually put onto it, velcroed onto it in fact, reflective strips, and my camera is action camera that I use. That the harness for that, I've actually stuck a load of reflective striping, the fluorescent greeny yellow striping all over that. So yes, that actually seems to work very well. It seems to work better than wearing a full yellowy green top. People seem to think you're a learner, so you're just going to pull it straight in front of you, although that red car did pull it in front of me on the way in, didn't it? So it doesn't work every time. So you do have to be aware, and that's something I've been so aware of. I think it's probably from my cycling days where cars would just pull straight in front of you, just completely ignore a cyclist. I'm so much aware, far more than I ever was when I was a youngster, about someone pulling out. There are far more cars around, and they just don't look. They're just in such a hurry, especially, it seems, now this is perhaps more so up here because we have a lot of retired folk in this area, and there are a lot of care workers, young female care workers, driving about in cars, hurrying from one place to another, and they just tear around everywhere. You've got to be so careful just crossing the road when they're around. So yes, I'm very much aware of anyone just pulling out and not looking properly, just glancing up the road rather than looking properly. So anyway, that's my rant for the day. So we're up the top of Castlerig now and heading away, and that's over there. You can see that's Saddleback, Blencathra. That's also known. And a bit further along we'll be, if I got that right this time, and we're getting to Helvellyn a bit further along, of course, and we're just enjoying a little run. So what other mistakes? Well, thinking back to my friend John, have I mentioned John? Yes, he was the one that had the A65 frame and an engine and stuff that he sold to me. I had to then build, and we actually met at school, although he wasn't particularly interested in motorcycles at the time, but he bought himself a Bantam when he was 16, and he started to turn it into a little racer, this little Bantam. But last when I bought my Ariel Colt 200cc 4-stroke, he had a go on it, and he said, "Oh, blimey, this was the future for John." So he went and got himself a C12 BSA. A C12 was a 250cc version, but with swinging arm rear suspension, something better than my plunger rear suspension on the Ariel Colt. Anyway, it was a bit of a Connor, so he bought a load of rubbish. It was completely clapped out. Anyway, we had it rebored and all sorts of things, and did it up very nicely. But he also bought himself a Wall Phillips fuel injector. Wall Phillips fuel injector. What on earth's that? Well, indeed, Wall Phillips. Wall. That's Walter Phillips. I can't say Wall. It's not very easy, is it? He was a speedway rider and grass tracker, and he had developed this thing, a sort of a carburettor, but not a carburettor. None of the sophistication of a carburettor. It's more of a fuel on-off switch rather than any sort of sophisticated device. The idea was that it would improve the performance. So John saw this, and he obviously had far more money than I did, because he went and bought one of these and fitted it. Wow, what a complete disaster that was. It had no float bowl to maintain the fuel level, so you put on the fuel tap from your petrol tank, fuel would come down to a little valve in this injector, so called, and you started the engine if you were lucky, and away you went. The trouble was there was no tick over. It was just an on-off device. It was awful, and once it caught fire, and fortunately we had the presence of mind to switch off the petrol and stick a cloth over it and douse the flames. So that could have been a disaster for his C12, couldn't it? And I have actually since then read that quite a few people burnt their bikes out using one of these devices. So no, you can buy them on eBay if you want to try one, but they're very expensive. It could be even more expensive if your bike caught fire. So no, I wouldn't recommend. Anyway, we're still heading along this lovely road which he came in on, and we're going to be this lovely wide open road, isn't it? And a bit of dual carriageway look. And it's going to be this is almost like riding along a country lane. This dual carriageway. You could almost imagine yourself as a lanes explorer, couldn't you, along here? Wonderful. I'll keep quiet for a bit now. Getting a bit hoarse. Other mistakes then, now we've passed that bit of that lovely bit from there. I enjoyed that. What other mistakes do we make? Well, a number of times I read when someone says, oh, you know, Andy Tierman Classics have got this blah 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 whatever, and I used to have one of those. I regret selling it, and I thought, yeah, I regret selling my A50, but needs must. I mean, without that, I couldn't have bought my little Beetle, and we couldn't have had all our holidays, could we? So it's all about, you know, what you have at the time, what you have to do to do it. Anyway, you can always get another one, can't you? Surely they're not so difficult to get hold of, these bikes. There's plenty around. And in fact, I'm also thinking about the number of motorcyclists. Are there more motorcyclists now than there used to be in the 60s and 70s? I wonder. Certainly the 60s, I don't remember there being a huge number of motorcyclists around then. If you went to Brands Hatch or a race meeting anywhere like that, or the Dragon Rally or anything like that, yes, you used to meet quite a lot up there then, gathered together. But you know, if you went to halls back in the 1960s, you would never see another motorcyclist probably. Whereas now, if you go to halls in the Yorkshire Dales, the place is absolutely heaving with motorcycles and motorcyclists. This was not the case then, I'm sure. I don't know what it is, and I would dearly love to know whether there are actually more motorcyclists around. In terms of motorcycle dealers and motorcycle shops, I think there are fewer around now. Portsmouth wasn't a big place, but I did have a little count up in my head, and there were actually 10 motorcycle dealers of various sizes in Portsmouth. And as I say, Portsea Island is not big. Admittedly, 2 of those dealers were off the island in Cossam or Hilsey, but one of them was anyway. But no, the rest were in Portsmouth. And I think, well, where were all these motorcyclists? You didn't really see that many, but we didn't have the leisure time either. If we were retired, we didn't. I wouldn't know whether I was retired. I wasn't retired, was I? I was working jolly hard, I must say. And very pleased to be retired now. But yeah, there's an awful lot of us retired folk, and we have money, don't we? Well, some of us do, not all of us. But those of us that have a bit of money, we have a motorcycle if we're interested in that direction, and therefore we've got the time to enjoy them on a good day, just like today. Look at this, isn't this wonderful? Oh, it's magical. And that's the lovely thing actually about having filmed this. I can now enjoy it all over again, and in a different way, but because I've got one of those sort of memories, as I've mentioned before, it tends to be a bit, it remembers everything. It can't check out the rubbish, it just has to remember everything. And but today it's just a lovely ride, and I'm just remembering it and enjoying it, and I hope you are too. And I must say thank you so much. I cannot believe that I'm teetering as I do this. I'm teetering on 950 subscribers. Unbelievable. When I think I started off, I think I had about 3 or 4, and that's probably going to be it, isn't it? The sort of thing as I do. But gradually over the last 2.5 years, numbers have crept up, and many of you obviously like what I do, and that is so heartening, I must say. It gives me a very warm glow, and I hope you will continue to watch me. That's right. And I hope I can continue to carry on riding as long as I can. And there will come a time, of course, when I have to hang up those motorcycling gloves and put one of the helmets into storage. But hopefully that'll be a way off yet. Of course, for me, it's not just about the ride, is it? Motorcycling is also about the having a motorcycle, being thought of as a motorcyclist. I don't think of myself as a biker. I don't know when that term came into use, but it's not one that I use. I've just thought of myself as a motorcyclist, and I do love riding, especially on country lanes. I mean, this is a bit of a departure for me actually, on being on these faster roads. Although, having said that, I'm not going very fast. At 40, that's 40 to 50. That's my limit. I have ridden above that, but I don't much care for it anymore. I do remember on my Tiger 100, which was that 500cc trial, I did actually manage to an indicated 100 miles an hour. And I think about it, oh dear. Oh, I don't like to think about it, but unfortunately, once again, I can't shut it out. But yes, I did actually manage 100 miles an hour on it, and along the country lane it was. And I thought, it was so bumpy, and it was awful actually. I didn't enjoy it at all. Why am I doing this? Just to prove that you've done it? Probably. So no, I'm not like that. I just enjoy life. Lovely fells up over on the right hand side there too. Other mistakes? Well, we've spoken about John, we've spoken about myself, and we've not really spoken about Malcolm, have we? Malcolm, yes. Malcolm was a very fast rider, and he is a very fast rider if he's still riding. I don't know. So I've made a touch with those lads that I used to know back in my teenage years. They'd all be my age, a little bit older in Malcolm's case, a couple of years older. And he started with a Bantam, and he went to, he had a Ducati 200, and then he got obsessed with Gold Stars, BSA Gold Stars. We're not talking about modern Gold Star, the 650 version. We're talking about what I would say was a real Gold Star, the BSA Gold Star, the single cylinder racing machine. And he had a DBD 34, the 500, and he used to ride that fast. I mean, this machine was capable of 120 miles an hour. If you're a bit of a tailwind, and he used to ride him at that speed. And in fact, he was pulled over on a very fast road simply because he stopped. He said, if I kept going, if I hadn't stopped and just adjusted his goggles or something, then the police would never have pulled him in. They would never have caught him. But he got fined and banned for 6 months. He did learn his lesson a bit. He used to ride fast elsewhere. He didn't think there would be the police around. But yeah, he was always very fast. And another friend of mine, Malcolm, Arthur, who immigrated to Australia in 1971. When Arthur returned, he said, "I wonder you never took up racing." Well, Malcolm said, "Well, it probably was a good job I never did," and I think he was probably right, actually. Still, that's off the other bridge, isn't it? But Malcolm used to blow up his Gold Star regularly. He used to over-rev it, I think, and the conrod snapped for some good reason, didn't it? It's not a normal occurrence in a BSA Gold Star, I don't think. And talk about the damages it did, of course. A flailing connecting rod in an engine, it did not do it a lot of good. So yes, it was an expensive, very expensive machine for Malcolm. And then he went over to other machines, but he always retained his interest in BSA Gold Star. And when he had a bit more money, that was when his parents died. They sold. He was an only child, and he had money from the house, and he bought himself a few Gold Stars of various ilks. An earlier one, the BB, which was a smaller finned version, a DBD 34 again, of course, the last version, and I think he also had a CB 350. I'm not entirely sure about that, but certainly had the two. He probably still has them, and he was obsessed with BSO Gold Stars. He knew all about them, and he knew a lot about other racing machines too. I'm not saying he didn't, but certainly he was an enthusiast, bordering on a fanatic. Did I say that? No. Lovely machines. Beautifully engineered, and wonderful history to them. Personally, I was always an AJS 7R G50 fan myself. Think like a very camshaft racing machine. I like those very much, like the looks of them, but they weren't, of course, road machines. Whereas the Gold Star could be used on the road, even if it was with a very high first gear and close ratio gearbox and an engine which wouldn't tick over because it had an Amel GP 1.5-inch carburetor. Certainly wasn't really a road machine, but lovely looking machine. And the sound, there's nothing like the sound of a genuine Gold Star with a genuine Gold Star silencer on, that lovely twitter. And that twitter, of course, is caused by the extreme valve timing and the nature of the construction of that megaphone type silencer. Now, we've almost reached the end of our ride. We're coming into Grasmere, and I got it right that time, and the little roundabout, and that's where I'm going to leave you. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I can't believe I talked all that time without coughing and spluttering, and I haven't made that many mistakes either. Well, wonderful. So do join me if you possibly can, and if you want to subscribe, if you've watched this and you think, this is a bit unusual, perhaps I'll subscribe. Well, do so. Why not? You don't have to, of course. It don't cost you anything. But give me a thumbs up. I would like a thumbs up. And it is nice to have more subscribers. And thanks to everyone that's watched me, stay with me this far. And it's been great having you along. And we haven't quite reached the roundabout yet, so we've still got a little way to go through this. And it's getting so busy, isn't it, Doc? Yeah, I'm so pleased we got out early. It was quite nice to see that motorcyclist didn't go tearing off, did he? Came past me, understandably. I was only going slow, and he came past me, but he has got out far ahead. Where he's off to. I'm sure he's enjoyed his time in the lakes, just as I have. What a lovely area it is, though. When I think this whole ride is just over about 100 miles, 110 miles, something like that, from home, and you get to such wonderful scenery. And then on the other side, of course, you've got the Yorkshire Dales, and Scotland's not far away either. Wonderful. Here we are, just coming into our mini roundabout. Bye for now, and I hope to see you on this ride, but also in December with another ride.